Toronto's youth unemployment crisis, what it means for Regent Park's next generation. Welcome to Regent Park TV, I'm Miguel. Today we take a closer look at Toronto's youth unemployment crisis and what it means for our community. A new report, supported by the Neighbourhood Group, TNG, and the Toronto Youth Cabinet, sheds light on the barriers young people continue to face, from scarce job prospects and financial instability to systemic challenges that hit racialized, Indigenous, newcomer, and low-income youth the hardest. In Regent Park, these realities are deeply felt and closely tied to broader issues like housing, mental health, and community safety. The report calls for stronger investments in paid internships, sustainable career pathways, and youth-led employment programs to create lasting change. To get a local perspective, we spoke with Walied Khogali Ali, co-chair of the Regent Park Neighbourhood Association and a key voice in the Regent Park Social Development Plan. Walied explains why solving youth unemployment requires more than short-term fixes. It's about opening doors to opportunity, nurturing local talent, and shaping a future where Regent Park youth can thrive. Let's hear what Walied has to say.
My name is Walied Khogali Ali. I am the co-chair of the Regent Park Neighbourhood Association and the Regent Park Social Development Plan, but I'm also an advocate for youth employment. The TNG report highlights a crisis impacting young people across the city of Toronto. In 2024, we had youth unemployment hover around 20%. That is devastating. That means 1 in 5 young people cannot find a good job even though they're qualified. And the Neighbourhood Association understood this crisis years ago. Last year we did apply for funding through the Canada Summer Jobs Program, and we had so many people apply, and we advocated for youth employment throughout the year, not just in the summer. We worked with the Toronto Youth Cabinet, and we also worked with city staff and members of council to push for solutions that focused on making sure that youth have an opportunity for employment all year round, not just in the summer. They require support in the fall and the winter as well. And I think TNG's report highlights that it's become a crisis. Youth are being left behind, and we need to do more. We've done a lot of good work, but we need to do more. We've secured $2.5 million from the City of Toronto to resource the Regent Park Social Development Plan. This is the last year. 2025 is the last year of the allocated funds, so we need more resources for years to come. And many of the projects that are funded through the Regent Park Social Development Plan support youth not just gain employment opportunities, but also mental health supports, culturally appropriate mental health supports. Shout out to WANASA, shout out to many organizations operating in Regent Park and surrounding neighborhoods that are there to support our young people. And it's critically important that we remember that when young people don't have jobs, when they don't have opportunities, it leads to the worst of outcomes. We say the root causes of crime is poverty. So we need to better support young people, not just gain employment, but also start their own social enterprises. Make sure that they have access to financing, make sure that they have access to mentorship, but most importantly, when they need it, mental health supports, so that they could contribute to our neighborhood and contribute to our city in the most effective way. I am concerned, to be honest, that when it comes to community benefit dollars, we're not going to see them soon. They are going to be much more visible and accessible to most of us years down the road. Without city funding, without resources for our community, all this great work, all these initiatives that took years to put together to have an impact will be at risk. We cannot jeopardize the investments that have been made over the past decades in Regent Park, and we need to continue those investments now to better support young people, especially young people who've started their own organizations, grassroots organizations, who understand what other young people need. And I am optimistic that we will get there, but it requires investments by governments, all levels of governments, from City Hall to Queen's Park to the federal government in Ottawa, whether it's through the Canada Summer Jobs Program or through other important initiatives to ensure that these investments in young people. How we treat young people and how we treat our seniors indicates what values we hold dear. And I think it's important that we demonstrate that we're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk by making these investments. When I walk down the street, I run into a lot of young people, mostly Black, racialized, Indigenous youth, who stop me and ask me for support, stop and ask me for help. And I do make referrals, and I do my very best to help them access a good job. But those mostly impacted are those racialized folks in our community, racialized youth in our community, who don't have access to people with money and influence and privilege who could make sure that they get a job. So this is about privilege. And if we're talking about equity, and if we're talking about access, then we need to target the most vulnerable members of our community, those that are disfranchised from youth employment because of systemic reasons, because of anti-Black racism, because of anti-Indigenous racism, because of their name, because of their postal code, where they live. Those are all factors that impact youth employment. I think with the World Cup, there was a unique opportunity where all levels of government, our federal government, our provincial government, and our municipal government, Mayor Olivia Chow and members of council could have shown leadership by making sure that we actually hire young people to support the World Cup. Instead of providing hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies to FIFA. That doesn't make any sense to me. There needs to be investment in the most vulnerable members of our community who are accessing, who want to access jobs, who want to access opportunities. So the World Cup will have been a great opportunity, but I'm deeply concerned that we will not get there if we don't see leadership at City Hall, at Queen's Park, and in Ottawa to invest in young people, making sure they're not just volunteers, but they're actually paid interns at FIFA, paid interns at these amazing venues that have been put together by MLSC and other partners. Like, it's critically important that we invest in our community. We invest in young people. We invest in racialized members of our community. Those investments are lacking, and it's deeply concerning. I feel like our economy is in a recession, and I see it in the ground. I see it in my community when I interact with many of my neighbors. And I want to encourage parents. I want to encourage everyone who has goodwill to demand better from our elected representatives, that they need to invest in our communities. And when it comes to housing, and I know young people are deeply passionate about housing because we live in times where we're dealing with a housing crisis. It's critically important that we must end the financialization of housing. It is a risk to our economy, and it is unjust, and it has made the lives of many people living in our city, many of our neighbors, many of our friends, many of our family members, much more challenging. Leadership means when it's difficult, you do the most important thing, which is watch out for those that are most vulnerable in our community, and not be a bystander, and not make excuses of why things cannot be done. And I will note that our budget is a reflection of our priorities. And when you look at how much funding has been allocated for youth employment in our city, it is disheartening. There needs to be more done to support young people in our community.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.